Hello, one and all. This is Timothy, and today is Tuesday, June 12th, 2018. It's a very potent time to be alive, to be a human being on this planet at this time. These are powerful times. These can be challenging times. And so I would really like to cut to the chase today, because astrology can be a tool of healing. It can be very informative in understanding the why we are experiencing what we are going through, and what is the general intention, what is the evolutionary direction, what is the purpose of these experiences, of these feelings, of these circumstances, so on and so forth. Now, typically I shoot these videos in the backwoods somewhere. Today I'm in my backyard. I have not replaced my video camera yet. So I do apologize if there's any additional sounds, distractions, trains, cars, appropriate for the transits. But anyways, I'll try to keep it on track and pause if there's a lot of noise. So yes, this can be a potentially challenging time. And to understand why, it's because the dynamics that are really coming up these weeks, and particularly this month of June, can be setting the stage for the changes, for the evolution that can be taking us through the months to come. So we're not just focusing on the new moon today. It's not just Neptune stationing retrograde this month that is particularly powerful. It's not even just Mars retrograde. It is the fact that Mars is stationing retrograde on the south node of the moon. This is a powerful evolutionary signature that brings up themes and dynamics that are asking to be changed. And so beginning with Mars, that's the big player this month, is this Mars retrograde. Mars already passed the moon's south node June 8th, is stationing retrograde at 9 degrees and 13 solar arc minutes of Aquarius on June 26th. Then opposes the sun June 27th. This is when Mars is closest to the Earth, very bright, very red. You're going to be able to see Mars as soon as the sun is setting, coming above the horizon. It's a very Martian time. What is Mars? Mars is our physical energy. Mars is the blood that pumps through our body, that gives us energy, confidence, and direction. Mars is our capability to initiate new patterns and stay the course in terms of this is who I am, this is what I desire, this is where I'm going in life. When Mars is turning retrograde, it means that our direction, our willpower, and our desire drive is changing. It's going through an evolutionary update. There is an adjusting and a shifting of our direction taking place. Mars also deals a lot with sexuality. We can be dealing with themes of sexuality coming up from the past, and indeed many past themes can be getting exposed this month. Why? Because we're talking about the moon's south node. So this has already been going on the last couple of weeks. Mars on the south node, June 8th, this last couple of weeks, these themes are already starting to come up. Mars on the south node can be past themes related to sexuality, direction, willpower. With Mars in Aquarius, we're talking about orientation to groups, technology, dealing with peer pressure, judgments from other people, the expectations and obligations in terms of what other people are measuring us with scrutinizing telescopic perspective, and how that affects our energy, our confidence, our willpower, even our sexuality. Sexuality can be a big theme with this Mars retrograde in Aquarius, soon to be opposed by Venus in Leo. Now, as we talked about, this can bring up themes of trauma. With Aquarius, a big theme is trauma, unexpected, shocking shifts that happened in the past, and how we've dealt with trauma, how the coping mechanisms that have surrounded out of trauma, the cultural expectations in terms of what this is normal. Again, peer pressure. Oh, this is normal. This is how our society is. This is how our group is. This is how technology is used in this day and age. Again, past themes of trauma, sexual oppression, how we use and direct our own creative sexual energy, drive, and willpower. And themes that are dealing with what caused that to go off track or become scattered, or how we might have become fragmented or disassociated from our own body, willpower, individuality, and direction. This is Mars stationing on the South Node. Now, the South Node of the Moon is the past. It also can deal with our own subconscious or unconscious tendencies. Because when we have so many redundant patterns that happen over a particular period of time, they become subconscious to us. You know, it's like a fish in water. This is just how life is. This is normal. Or again, with trauma, one of the coping mechanisms is fragmentation, disassociation of our consciousness. Essentially what trauma is when we experience that's so shocking, so dramatic, or overwhelms our own nervous system so drastically, the experience itself has to be set to the side until we are in a place, an environment that's safe and settled down enough for us to process that experience. This is why people block out memories in childhood from traumatic experiences. This can also be potentially resurfacing. Memories, experiences that we've blocked out or forgotten because they've become subconscious or unconscious to us. We're also dealing with our own subconscious or unconscious tendencies in how we deal with Mars. The masculine drive, sexuality, going to the beat of our own drum, or how we cooperate with groups. How we handle the freedom urge. Do we reject and rebel everybody and deal with isolation and feel like we're misappreciated? Do we submit to the intention of the group and lose our individuality? These can be themes that are coming up. We are definitely dealing with the masculine and the feminine dynamic. This is a very, very powerful time in relationships. Much of this healing, this confrontation, this past awareness being illuminated can definitely play out through the vehicle of relationships. Now, we can be recalling buried memories, also dealing with blockages, old blockages, habits that we thought we overcame, dynamics that we thought we were over long time ago, can be resurfacing, as well as the triggers that make these dynamics difficult, or the coping mechanisms, the addictions that surround dealing with these areas can resurface. Anxiety, how we deal with stress, and the coping mechanisms that surround anxiety can be resurfacing, etc., etc. So again, this is using astrology to be aware, to sort of diagnose the dynamics of this time, and we're dealing a lot with trauma and anxiety. And this is why I did an additional video with the Evolutionary Astrology Zoom meetings group, and you can check the link below, that was specifically about healing and addressing trauma and anxiety. Because not only do we want to talk about these things, we want to know how to fundamentally address them in our bodies, in the real world. And this is a new frontier of healing, collectively, is dealing with trauma, anxiety. This is like after we become physically safe, this is the next frontier of healing. I believe that Sounds True just did a whole thing on trauma at a perfect time. So check out that video, check out Sounds True, and let's talk about the actual tools, the techniques, the healing modalities, the things that we can be doing to make this period easier and to heal and resolve these themes surrounding anxiety, trauma, or sexual distortion, or shock or trauma. With Mars stationing on the South Node, there can be a lot of stubbornness in terms of addressing what we really need to at this time. There can be a lot of resistance. Again, we're dealing with masculine patriarchal themes. It's been this way forever. I'm not going to be the one to change this. This rut has been so deeply carved in, I can't possibly get out of this. It's too hard. I don't want to do it. It's a waste of time. It's not going to lead anywhere. This unconscious resistance can be coming from the depth of the rut, or how redundant these themes have been experienced in our life, how deep the addiction goes, how repetitive the trauma was, so on and so forth. This unconscious resistance is what we really have the opportunity to plow through. And this is going on, again, not just this month. So again, the reason this can be so challenging is this is not a quick fix, you understand? This is like deep powerful potential for healing. And if we get on board, yes, we can go very far. We can address these long outstanding patterns and wounds in a very powerful way to initiate ourselves into the spiritual warriors that we authentically are. But is the new age positive thinking one-liner going to solve everything? Or joining the club going to magically fix everything? Or, saying the mantra just going to automatically repair everything? No, this is, again, these themes are being introduced to us these months, this month of June in particular, but this can really take us through summertime into fall time. As Mars stations direct at the end of August, comes back into Aquarius mid-September, and then passes the moon's south node again, September 26th. So this whole period now through fall is about addressing, upheaving, revealing, exposing, and addressing these dynamics that can go quite deep. And what this is unresolved past patterns that now desire to be liberated. So again, acknowledging how we relate to groups, technology, sexuality, relationships is all relevant, as well as the coping mechanisms, This isn't just like we're going to run away to the sexual workshop and then everything becomes enlightened, right? It's like this understanding of how are we working with groups? Are they actually helping and serving us? Are we cooperating in a progressive, actually moving forward type of way? Or is this just another escape or another wishful thinking, fanciful delusion, So many people get in front of the camera and just say flowery words, and then many people nod their heads and say, oh yeah, that sounds good, this is helpful. This is not just a wishful thinking time. This is about getting down to business, what's real, what's practical, what's actually going on in the three-dimensional, practical, physical world. How are we relating to other people? How are we sharing ourselves with groups? And this Mars in Aquarius can be very instinctual, very reactive, but on the positive note can be very progressive. Hey, these are the groups that we need. This is what we haven't been acknowledging that needs to be acknowledged. This is the cause that we're going to stand up and fight for. We're defending the downtrodden, the outspoken. This is high octave Mars. High octave Mars is the knight in shining armor, chivalry, protecting the outspoken, the downtrodden, the overlooked, the women and the children. So what are we standing up for? What are we fighting for? And potentially our own past traumas, our own wounds, and our own negative experiences with groups or the culture or technology can be awakening what we are fighting for and who we're connecting in the future, the like minds who share our value system and our flame of passion that we can work with in order to move things progressively forward. Now, making this Mars retrograde particularly unique, not only is Mars stationing on the south node, but we now have Venus approaching the north node of the moon in Leo. And so Venus is going to move into Leo tomorrow, June 13th, the day of our new moon, and then conjunct the moon's north node next Wednesday, June 20th, right around the time of the summer solstice. And on the summer solstice, Venus is opposite to Mars. And so there's this huge theme of battle of the sexes, masculine versus feminine, as well as romantic, sexual, creative potential, forming the bridge between our masculine, instinctual, outward, accomplishing, conquering drive, Mars, and our more sharing, collaborative, receptive, creative, playful. Let's create something new together. Let's play together. Let's create together. Let's celebrate together. Let's celebrate our love. Let's celebrate sexuality, celebrate romance. This is Venus in Leo coming up to the moon's north node. It's about this artistic, romantic alchemy. How can we come together and acknowledge what needs to be talked about, the trauma, the shame, the sexual oppression, and how can we turn this into a creative game or a collaborative activity where we get to come together and create and share, or work with children to prevent future generations from having to experience what we have. This is how we start to come into the light at the end of the tunnel. This is how we start to discover the creative potential of this time. This is how we start to acknowledge and become embodied in our heart, rather than losing perspective with life or becoming overwhelmed with the sense of loss, and it's just too much, and then giving up. That's the South Node, is when we get stuck in a rut and it's too hard and too difficult and we just want to give up, whatever. We'll just let the cycles of samsara repeat because there's no point in trying, It's like we're coming out of that into our human heart. You're still a human being. You still have an inner child. You still have a soul. You still have innocence. You have not lost any of this. This is about acknowledging our story. Leo is the hero's quest. Hercules is the hero who isn't given his herodom served on a silver platter. He has to go through all these extreme tests and challenges that are very severe and very demanding, but he overcomes all of these things. And then all of those challenges and difficulties that he faced and overcome is what initiated him into being the hero that he is. That is Leo. It's about acknowledging our story, acknowledging our hero's quest. It's about celebration of who we are as individuals. This isn't being egocentric or egoic. It's about acknowledging ourselves as human beings, being a creation of God, being a participant in the orchestra. Each of us has our own divine instrument which we are playing. And so it's about acknowledging and celebrating our own spontaneous voice. This is my story. This is who I am. It's about releasing our truth, playing. This is the key to our heart and our life, and acknowledging who we are. And again, this is the light at the end of the tunnel. It's the feminine heart. This is what we get to share. This is what we love. What is feminine is soft and receptive. It's what we value. It's what we love, that we cherish, that fills us up, reminds us of who we are. And these are the things that we can share. Our value system is what connects us to people of similar values, those of a similar wavelength. So by acknowledging our story, our own values, what we love and cherish in our hearts, that acknowledges our truth, this is what we are singing, sharing, and playing that can really get the ball moving forward into the healing and the progress that we all individually as well as collectively need at this time. And so Mars in Aquarius on the South Node can be this patriarchal scrutiny, measuring and objective and detached. Oh, but did you get all your I's dotted and your T's crossed? And is that perfect the way that it's supposed to be? I can only have sex with you if things look this particular way, and you've got to say this particular line, and then the sexual energy can flow. And otherwise it's just like, meh, And what is this? Sexual oppression. It chokes up our own sexual flow. It causes problems in our sexual partners' romantic relationships, so on and so forth. So again, Mars in Aquarius, this detached, robotic, judgmental scrutiny. Sorry, the group gives you an F, so I guess you're a failure, The group doesn't approve of your direction, so, I guess you're just going to have to conform. And Mars in Aquarius is not happy about this. Mars wants to liberate and progress, even if that involves some type of productive rebellion. We're going to leave this group nicely. We're not going to burn any bridges. We're not going to punch anybody in the face. But this is a dead end. This isn't who I am an individual is meant to work with. This can also deal with not just romantic relationships, but business partnerships, associations, so on and so forth. So we are creating safety for our own authentic expression. There we go. Now let's talk about this new moon in Gemini. So this is a new moon in Gemini tomorrow, Wednesday, June 13th, at approximately 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 22 degrees and 44 solar arc minutes of Gemini. This Gemini new moon is also slightly square to Neptune, in conjunct to Pluto, and is ruled by Mercury. Now, Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, is moving into Cancer today. And so Mercury in Cancer is also squaring to Chiron tomorrow, the day of this new moon. Now, Gemini is stereotypically the car salesman, very wordy, flowery language, word jugglery. It sounds very good. What does it mean? Conversation, communication, teaching. Gemini is the great teacher in an educational type of setting or institution. Let's use bits and pieces of information, conversation, language, labels to understand ourselves and our environment and our world is Gemini. Gemini can stereotypically be very airy-fairy, social. butterfly, reading so many books, doing so many things, so many thoughts, like a washing machine going on at once. Now, this Mercury in Cancer square to Chiron is way more introverted than stereotypical Gemini. And I'm going to say this new moon has a lot to do with more emotional, sentimental sharing. How we're really feeling on the inside, there's a huge opportunity to share that and to connect with groups and really learn and heal through opening ourselves up. And this is easier said than done, because Mercury square to Chiron can be very introverted, can feel like I can't speak. I can't communicate this issue that's going on in me. It's too difficult, it's too personal, it's too subjective, it strikes such a deep chord. Mercury is also opposing Saturn this Friday, June 15th. You know, this is not necessarily easy conversations, you know. It's like, I can't afford the camera right now, guys. I don't get paid by YouTube, if you didn't know that, you know. It's kind of embarrassing to admit. Or, you know, I'm really struggling with these feelings of isolation or these sexual wounds that are so embarrassing. I have this fetish or this desire going back to my sexual trauma that I've kept under wraps for so long, and I don't feel confident about how I'm handling this. I don't feel like I have help. I have all these addictions and coping mechanisms, you know, and it's like we want to go into our shell. This is the Cancer crab, you know, introverting, hiding. And a key part of this new moon is self-reflection. You know, we do need to tune in, slow down, process our feelings, you know, reflect on what's going through our brain. What is that connected to? Where is that leading us in the past? You know, and it's having the difficult conversations that are necessary in order to actually get things figured out, you know. And if it's an authority figure we have to talk to, you know, Saturn, or it's business, or it's money, sometimes this can be difficult, but it's actually really necessary for us to put it out there with this Mercury square to Chiron. It may be a practice, it may be a healing endeavor in itself, simply to get it out there, simply to speak it, talk to your partner, talk to your work associates, spill the beans on what's actually going on inside of yourself. And this can be a very deeply healing new moon that can take us well through the next month. And this next month can carry themes of intimate sharing, self-reflection, connecting with friends and groups that we can actually open ourselves up to, so that way we can do this communication and this deeper healing endeavor. So that's this new moon. The new moon quincunx to Pluto can also carry a theme of adjusting our own self-image. It's like, who are we? We're sharing ourselves with these groups, these people, bouncing our ideas off of others in order to really understand, you know, this is who I actually am. I thought that this is who I was. I was stuck in this rut. I was stuck in this inaccurate self-identity. And by sharing how I actually feel, I get feedback from other people that are giving me new information, new ideas, eureka moments. It's causing me to self-reflect and discover myself. Now, this new moon is square to Neptune. Neptune is stationing retrograde June 18th at 16 degrees, 30 solar arc minutes of Pisces. This can be a somewhat confusing exploration. We may not know exactly the solutions right now. Everything's paid for us right now. This is going to be the group that we're going to connect with. This is what we're going to be doing. It can be an exploration. It can be confusing. The escapisms, the addictions, and our coping mechanisms can really be revealed this month. But beneath this, there's this opportunity to renew our own faith. You know, Neptune is like our goals. It's our belief systems. It's our relationship to the spiritual world. What is that? What is our connection to that? How are we related to our be-all, end-all goals? And so this is an opportunity for spiritual and physical redirection. You know, it's like Neptune is stationing on the 18th, and then just a week later, Mars is stationing on the 26th. You know, it's like really, really readjusting, reprioritization of our goals, our direction, our spiritual, physical orientation. This new moon is a question. Gemini is led by curiosity. Who are we anyways? And then we're introspecting, we're digesting, and then we're sharing and bouncing the deep, sentimental feelings of what's actually going on inside of us. Part of this is an experiment. Venus goes into Leo this Wednesday, and then squares Uranus on Thursday the 14th. It's like an experiment of how we're relating and connecting ourselves with others. What do we value? How are we going to share these things? What do we need in a sexual connection? What do we need in romantic partnership? All of this is a giant experiment. And the key is to not go too fast and too far with this Mars on the South Node, still square to Uranus. It's like, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. Let's not jump to any conclusions. Let's not rebel and take to the hills and find ourselves halfway to LA before we even process what it is that we're doing, We do need to slow down, self-reflect, and digest and process, and then experiment and share the results with others. That way we really can get down to business and create some authentic and powerful changes going on in our life. So that way we can be on course with our true willpower, what we are here as souls to accomplish and do, by removing any of the interferences or the distractions that lead us into the behaviors or the ruts, or being stuck in patterns of victimization or shame or inadequacy or anxiety that is not allowing us to feel stably present and embodied with who we authentically are. So there's a great amount of opportunity and potential for us to really come into a more creative presence, authentically showing up and sharing our true self-expression for who we truly are. Coming up June 21st is the summer solstice. This is the moment that the sun leaves the sign of Gemini and enters the sign of Cancer. The moment that the sun's incoming rays is aligned with the Tropic of Cancer, when the earth is tilted on its northern latitude towards the sun. This is what creates the zodiac. This is the summer solstice. In the northern hemisphere, it is the time of greatest daytime. And so this is another big turning of the corner, big changes, big alignments. It's always a good idea to do your rituals around a solstice or equinox period, because it's a time of releasing what is no longer serving us, redirecting and reprioritizing, so to bring in more of what we authentically need. And as we move into Cancer season, it's much more about sentimental sharing, self-reflection, coming into our emotional bodies, what makes us feel safe, and connecting with those souls that create this safe space for us to open up, share ourselves, so to heal. And this is a necessary part of healing trauma and anxiety. So again, check out that video if you haven't already and you're interested in healing anxiety or trauma. I also put out an additional video on the water trine, which is essentially about being okay to express any emotions as we feel them, including negative or difficult emotions, which is really important for this time period as well. I'm also happy to announce I'm doing workshops. Yay! And so let's see, I believe it's going to be on the 24th of this month. I'm going to do a preliminary astrology workshop. So check out the link below. This is like the intro to astrology. What is a chart? What's the astronomy that goes into astrology? Why do we have 12 zodiac signs? Where do these signs come from? Why do we measure these degrees on the wheel? The intro basic to basic stuff. And so if you're new and coming into astrology, or if you still have these questions that you're asking, please feel free to check out and sign up for this workshop. And if you get anything from these videos, if you appreciate what Rasa Leela Healing is putting out there, your support is appreciated. And you can certainly support continued videos and workshops by signing up for my Patreon page. So check out that Patreon page at the link below. I do a monthly Q&A, a monthly horoscope, as well as additional, interactions with those who are a part of this community. And I want to do more in that direction. That's a part of my own Mars retrograde experiment. And I'm also taking readings again. So check out my website below. And again, I am wishing you absolutely all the best in this very powerful, potent time of upheaval and change. So much the best to you and your beloveds, and please do take care.